Okay, here's what you need to know about why the dodo went extinct and what that means for us today. The dodo is one of the most well-known extinct animals. You might be familiar with the song, "Why Did the Dodo Bird Go Extinct?" by They Might Be Giants, which describes how the dodo bird was lazy and its main defense mechanism was to lay around on the ground pretending to be a log. Well, it turns out that this is not actually true. The dodo bird did not go extinct because it was too lazy to fly away from predators or too stupid to realize it was being hunted. In fact, we now know that dodos were quite active during the day and flew perfectly fine when they needed to. Instead, the real reason the dodo went extinct is a lot more complicated and kind of makes us feel guilty. Dodos went extinct because of a combination of factors that all came together after humans arrived in the island ecosystem that dodos called home. Dodos are a classic example of a species that went extinct due to human activity, but they're far from the first. When humans arrived in the island ecosystem that dodos called home, they brought with them rats, pigs, cats, dogs, and other animals that competed with and preyed upon dodos and their eggs. Dodos were hunted for food, and their feathers and the forests they lived in were destroyed as humans cleared the land for agriculture. All of these factors combined made it impossible for the dodo to survive. But there's a lot we can learn from the dodo that applies to preventing extinctions today. So let's dive into some of the fascinating research that's been done on these so-called stupid birds. So first things first, dodos weren't actually stupid. In 1600, a Dutch sailor named Willem Saratops wrote, quote, "The dodo is a large and very strong bird, so that if it once gets hold of a man, it will not let him go so easily." And while this may sound like an exaggeration, it's actually pretty consistent with what we know about dodos today. The bones of several dodos have been found with healed injuries, including a broken wing and a punctured knee, suggesting that they were tough enough to survive attacks from predators like feral dogs and possibly even human beings. Also, dodos didn't just lay around on the ground pretending to be logs. They were active during the day and flew perfectly fine when they needed to. The idea that dodos were stupid and lazy is a harmful myth that has led to misguided conservation efforts. For example, in the early 1900s, some conservationists wanted to reintroduce dodos to the island of Mauritius, where they went extinct, believing that they would be able to survive if they could just be protected from predators. But because of their poor understanding of dodos' behavior and ecology, they chose the wrong habitat and the dodos quickly died off again. Dodos were also not flightless, as is commonly believed. While dodos couldn't fly very far, they were capable of flying short distances. This is evidenced by the fact that dodos have been found with lead shot in their bodies, indicating that they were hunted by sailors who arrived in Mauritius. Dodos evolved from white-throated rails that flew over from Madagascar, where they still live today. And fossils tell us that this happened sometime before 136,000 years ago. But dodos didn't evolve into the flightless birds we think of them as today until sometime after 130,000 years ago. The fossil record also tells us that dodos didn't go extinct until sometime before 6,000 years ago. But what's really interesting is that there's no evidence that dodos were any more vulnerable to extinction than other native species in Mauritius. In fact, dodos were probably better equipped to deal with environmental change than many of their contemporaries. So why did they go extinct while other species didn't? The answer, in short, is humans. While dodos were certainly impacted by the arrival of invasive species like rats and pigs, it was ultimately humans who are responsible for their extinction. Dodos are a cautionary tale, but they're also a reminder that humans have the power to prevent extinctions like these from happening today. By understanding the factors that led to their extinction, we can work to protect endangered species and their habitats. Otherwise, we may end up with another embarrassing gap in our knowledge.